listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app. It's me and it's Chris Meaney, and it's you, of course, and we've got all kinds of stuff going on in Major League Baseball today. We've got the early slate, we got the later early slate, and then we've got the main slate. There's so many slates to get to. Chris Meaney, I don't know. I haven't had my coffee yet, so this should be a special one.
All the slates. Oh, yeah, I got the coffee here. It's a little too warm. We'll have it throughout the show.
So many slates, Chris Meaney.
So many
We're going to break down
slates.
all the slates, okay?
Yeah, if you don't play on FanDuel, we've been pumping FanDuel all year. It really is the way to go with all the value that's been there. But there's a very early, there's an all day, there's an early only, there's a main. So there's lots of different ways that you can go if you're playing on FanDuel. But if you are a DraftKings player, then you know the big slate today is early in the morning. We got a few 1 o'clock games here this afternoon and a couple 2s and a couple 3s.
Yeah, so everything's broken down weird. So FanDuel's got their own little section there. DK's got their regular, break it down day versus night. So that's a little bit easier. So we'll try to maneuver through all those things. But first, let's get to yesterday, where the streak is alive. Chris Meaney is running red hot right now. Another home run call for you. Not only did you get the home run call right yesterday, but you got the Trockman thing right too. My goodness, he's like your new best friend, right?
He really is. Yeah, he's my new best friend. Hopefully he carries me to a couple championships and he wins us some monies, in the DFS world. See, he's been good. I mean, again, he's just getting everyday playing time with Aaron Hicks out of the lineup. He made a great catch last night too, highlight reel. And another guy that we've been talking about, and I have to say it's slow for the Reds because it is a name that just doesn't roll off the tongue all that great, but Aristides Aquino, he's a big boy for Cincinnati. He's getting an opportunity with all the trades with Puig gone. He's been hitting cleanup. You should see his stance. He basically stands square at the pitcher, and it's intimidating. He went yard last night, and he's had a heck of a 3 games since the call-ups. There's another guy just to keep an eye on going forward. The Reds are not in action today, though.
All right. Well, we'll definitely talk about him on the next show, too. Plus, and speaking of next shows, don't forget, NFL DFS show starting this week. So get over there and subscribe to the pre-snap because football is coming. So let's continue on here. We had 6 home runs in that Yankee game. By the way, Santander went yard to one of the guys we've been highlighting on this show over and over again, saying he's a good value. He's got pop when he's at home and a good matchup. Take him. Continuing on, Brian Reynolds went yard yesterday. You got 2 from Jorge Soler. Only 8 runs in that game against Boston and Kansas City. That was depressing for me.
That was.
I mean, come on, really?
The biggest letdown of the night, to be honest with you. Yeah,
Huge.
Rolling through the games, that was the one that, we definitely got wrong. It's certainly me from a betting standpoint. I always figured at least the over.
Yeah. And besides Aquino in that game, too, you also had Suarez hitting his 30th and Mike Trout hitting his 38th. So big there. Look, Verhagen, by the way, coming up with the W. I just want to point that out after the jokes and whatnot. Still 16 runs in that game, but whatever, W is a W.
Yeah.
We were right about Zach Wheeler yesterday. He was excellent. Shutout innings against the Marlins. Exactly what we wanted. Exactly why we talked about him. Exactly why he was the best ROI in cash game last night. That was the whole point. Pete Alonso with his 36th home run. I mean, 36. I mean, the guy is just smoking hot right now.
3 off the league.
Oh, it's so good. Austin Meadows continues his bounce back campaign here in these last few weeks with another dinger, his 19th. Continuing on here, we had Anderson beating Lester, which was very surprising. The 8 runs there, so we got that wrong. I mean, look, the numbers tell you what? The numbers tell you that all year long, John Lester at home has been absolute money. He was not. That's baseball. That sucks. But we'll take the beat on that one. It was a bad one, but we got the cash game right with Wheeler for sure. Lester was, I was all full front on that. I will go ahead, take the abuse. It's my bad. But look, I mean, when the numbers are that stark and that competitive, and you're also taking the DH of American League lineup, usually that works out. It didn't. So we have to move on. Zach Greinke was also got the W in his debut there against the Rockies. So at least he had a fellow opponent. We also were very, very right about fading Barrios on this slate yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
We were right about it.
In a hurry.
He got lit up in a hurry. So we got a little bit better after, so much for the John Lester thing. But We were right on Barrios. We were right on Wheeler. That was the right way to go. We were right on Kershaw, but we preferred Wheeler for the return on investment. And I'll still stand by that. But overall, it was a fun night outside of the disappointing Red Sox total and outside of the disappointing John Lester start. It was pretty much what we said it would be. Also, by the way, real quick, the Phillies, 12 runs in that game. I just want to point out, aren't you happy I steered you away from Jake Arrieta?
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
Yes. You know what I'm not
Nothing
happy
good could come
about?
of that.
And we just nothing good. We got that over in that game. We didn't even really have to sweat it out. The Phillies didn't do their part though. But even still, we got the over there. You know, the one that I'm not overly thrilled with, and I got on him a little bit later on over at TQE, just diving into, you know, just the game write-ups, was Dinelson Lamet. And you know, that was a good start from him. We kind of glossed over him and we were like, no, you know, you should really just kind of spend your money on Wheeler and Greinke. But he had a really strong outing. I mean, 12K through 7. And now just looking into Seattle over the last 3 weeks, they've struck out the most in baseball over the last 3 weeks.
It's something we've really got to, and now Beckham out of that lineup
Beckham
too,
is now out of that lineup. I know that
in case you missed it, he was
phenomenal.
suspended for 80 games for the PEDs. So.
Exactly. You know, he hasn't been great, but you take him out of that lineup and it just gets weaker.
That's the thing. It's another replacement. And finally, leaving on a high note again, Anibal Sanchez with another W.
Perfect.
Lock it up.
You're right. What a season this guy's having. I mean, now he lowered his ERA to 3.67. We talked about how he's only allowed more than 4 runs in a start once, and it came in Colorado, and he's only allowed more than 3 runs 4 times out of his 21 starts. He's had a phenomenal season for them, just under the radar. Not a guy who's going to strike a lot of people out, but he's going to do what he did last night. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 3K, W. That's a return on investment.
Especially with the salary he was at. He was pretty darn low. And that's the thing. Look, it was secondary pitcher kind of a thing. If you had him as a secondary pitcher, he was a really good return, allowed you to go up to the last, some of the bigger bats and everything else that you want in your lineup. So it was a pretty good day. 1 or 2 things didn't go our way, but we'll take the lumps when we have such a good success rate. And we really have. I mean, we've been very, very good. And last night was very good. I would say last night was what, a B-, you think? It was a B-.
Yeah, it was a B-. I'd like to hear from Dan a little bit later on and just about the home run calls. Like, I feel like if it's not me, it's you, and if it's not you, it's me, or if it's not us, it's Nitro.
Or 3 of us.
I would really like to, Ryan Humphreys has been killing it too. Yeah, I would really like to just kind of see.
Yeah, we got to get the
days that I want to know the days we've gotten wrong, to be honest. But we got to finish strong here in August, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get after it today, and let's figure out the slate, and let's start with that 12 o'clock game. Jordan Yamamoto, who got bumped from yesterday's start against Steven Matz for the Mets. Matz has been better lately, and then he laid a turd. So look, this is a tough one for me because you look at the pricing and you're looking for secondary pitchers. I think against the Marlins, I feel good about Matz at home. His numbers at home have been better. Then again, I said that about John Lester yesterday, and that didn't work out either. But I'm going to take my shot there because it's so cheap on the DK full day as a secondary pitcher. I like that investment. In terms of FanDuel pricing, where we're just doing the early groups together, he's 8.6, a little bit more expensive. Probably a little bit more difficult when you look at it. Actually, it's really not, because then you get to the 2 o'clock games with Garrett Cole. I mean, really, is Matt's like the best pitcher on FanDuel side too for the ones?
Yeah, he really may be. Again, very early only. There's a lot of different slates. So if you're playing the very early
only, right? That's
on FanDuel, you get the 5 games, and Matt's is up at the top at 8.6. But even still, 8.6 is not expensive. Really,
it's not.
No.
Well, you can still get Alonso at 3.9 in that lineup. You can get McNeil at 3.4. You can Met stack against Yamamoto, which is fine. Then you can dance with some of these other lineups that we're going to like in a little bit.
Yeah, and you're right about the splits. I mean, a 2.06 ERA at home, that's over 48 innings. His ERA is almost 7 on the road, and he has been really good of late. And the Mets just continue to roll. They're the hottest team in baseball. We said that yesterday. So they're getting some runs and they're getting some pitching. I mean, this team is scary right now. This is the time of the year that you want to get going, and they're going right now. So I like Mets a lot. I think he can get the W, and I think he can do enough for you in terms of strikeouts.
Now, look how what a difference a day makes, basically, because you have Zach Plesac and Urano in this game today, who got rained out yesterday. And because of the way the slate was put together, there was no interest whatsoever. But now that it's the very early slate on FanDuel at 7.5, I think Plesac is also in play, because he's
Yeah,
been pretty good, because he's at home and all those other things. But yesterday, not even close. But when you're talking about isolating, now that changes everything. And that's why you can't just paint with a wide brush on these things. You have to really take them and really break them down piece by piece and section by section. And in this section, I think Plesac with the 7.5 and also the 7.7 on DK is another good pitcher that I would kind of lean towards today. The other one's Brendan McKay at 8.5 on DK. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't think any other pitcher really besides Plesac and McKay and Matz really interest me.
no, I agree. And if you're playing on FanDuel, luckily you just have to pick one because I feel like there's going to be some runs in Detroit between the White Sox and the Tigers. I mean, we just talked about how we got 16 there yesterday in that doubleheader. The Jays are not getting any respect. The kids are going. I mean, Bo Bichette again. I mean, he's the fastest player in MLB history to 10 extra base hits. He's rolling. You got Biggio who had a home run yesterday. Vlad's rolling. Like, I like McKay too, but I'm a little concerned with some of the Jays. Definitely going to get some runs in Minnesota and Atlanta. And then we got, Garrett Cole, who's just so expensive. So if you're just trying to find that value, I believe it is Plesac. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think it is. So those are the kind of guys. Now, offensively, are you buying into the Jays against the Rays and the left-hander McKay today? Got a lot of righty bats in that lineup with Bichette, with Vlad. There's some big bats in there.
There are. And Biggio will probably stay in that lineup, even though it's a lefty-lefty. They're still, early in the year they were hiding him against left-handed pitching, but they're playing him now. They're playing the kids. I don't mind McKay actually in a tournament. I won't stack Jays, but what I will do, and yesterday they had a 3.5 team implied total. That's too low. For people that are making the prop bets, and we'll have some bets at the end, you can put that into your parlays, whether you like a game, maybe it's over under in the Minnesota Atlanta game, maybe it's just the Mets by 2. You want to find that third game. I like the Jays over 3.5 runs. I think they're getting disrespected. Like, I think that's a decent value there. That's plus money. You jump on that, they score 4 runs, and you're on your way. You don't have to worry about them winning the game.
All right, big price variance here for you. Nelson Cruz in this game against the lefty Max Fried is 5.7 on DK, but he's just 4.5 on FanDuel, so I still think he's a very good investment. It's a great matchup for him. I like the righty bats in this one. I like Mitch Garver at 3.2 on FanDuel, and I also want to highlight as well some of the right-handed bats on the other side, including Josh Donaldson and Adam Duvall. Duvall's a guy who's had a very good run here. I like all of those guys tonight. All the righty bats, I should say this afternoon, all those righty bats in this game to me are very much in play. And that's where I'm going for offense when you're just talking about the 1 o'clocks on the FanDuel side. I think that's where you want to go. Let's move on to the twos. And now we start moving into the later early slate here on the FanDuel side. Now you got Garrett Cole involved in 11.8, which is going to be expensive, obviously, but he's worth it. He's 11.9 on DK. I love him against Peter Lambert today. I think that's a lock cash game. Don't get fancy. Get their best Garrett Cole lineup you can, and then cash. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely. There's really not a whole lot to say besides that. I mean, there's not a lot of studs on this board today. So if you can find a way to get him in, it's just where are we going to go for offense? Where are we going to pair up, with Garrett Cole?
Well, look, if you're on DK and you want to pair up Garrett Cole, we talked about Matz earlier. We talked about Plesac. And then you've got opportunities even with Dustin May in his second start at home at 7.5 against the Cardinals. You could consider him. You could consider Quintana, but I think it's a little dangerous, especially after they beat up the lefty last night. And then you got Jack Flaherty, who I don't know what to do with Jack Flaherty anymore. I got to be honest with you, Chris. I throw my hands up. I cannot get a beat on this guy. So what's your take on Flaherty in Los Angeles? It's another tough assignment.
Yeah, it is, but I think he's a good tournament play because of that, because it's a tough assignment.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fair.
Mikolas did okay yesterday there. I mean, Flaherty has been money. He go look at the game log. I mean, it's been 2 or fewer runs now in 5 straight outings and 9 strikeouts, 9, 7, 8, and those are against good teams. Like his last 2 starts against the Cubs and the Astros. I mean, he come away of those 2 outings, only allowed 2 runs and 18 strikeouts. So he's looking like the Flaherty that we thought we were going to get. I think it's a tournament play only. One guy that I kind of have some interest in that you can maybe pair up with a Garrett Cole, just looking at maybe a W, is Joe Ross at 6.8 in San Fran. I mean, it's not phenomenal, but he's coming off an outing where he had 19 DraftKings points. It was in Arizona. I mean, he did walk 5, but he struck out 3. They were scoreless. All his 5 innings were scoreless. And the Nationals probably do enough there to get a win. I think they're a better team. They've been road dogs in San Fran in this series. I don't quite understand it. So, I mean, I can get behind that one, I guess. It's just the upside just really isn't there with the other guys. But he's showing up on LineStar as a pretty decent value, and I agree.
It's very tricky to look for offense in this slate, if you're going cash game in the FanDuel late early on FanDuel, I think it's difficult because if you do want to go up to Garrett Cole, you don't have a whole lot of money left to spend. So where would you go? Where's the cheap potential offense here in this small cluster of games we have? Is it potentially a little bit of Washington and San Fran?
Yeah, it might be like the Dozers and the Howie
Dozier
Kendricks of the world.
Robles, the Dozier Robles grouping that we tend to fall back on sometimes in these.
So if you put Cole in there, you got 2-9. You got 2-9 to go with the rest of the 4 games. And we've been talking about Oakland. I mean, that's not a bad way to go. I mean, you can roll through some Oakland players. I mean, Matt Olson is 3-3. That's kind of just right above where the threshold is for the average when you get Cole in there. Mark Hanna is 3-1. Matt Chapman's 3-4. Maybe you get those guys in there. Chad Pinder is only 2-9. How about Piscotty at 3? He had a home run yesterday at 4 RBIs. Like that. That's kind of the way I would go. I don't really want to go Cardinals. Actually, would you go Cardinals? I know you mentioned May, and 5.8 on FanDuel is very interesting for him. But there are at least some cheap bats in that St. Louis lineup that potentially, if you're going tournament way, but I wouldn't do it cash. So to answer your original question, like cash with Cole,
it's tough.
I think I'd go Washington and Oakland. I think that's where I would go.
Yeah, I think it's Washington, Oakland, or if you don't like Ross, then maybe the San Francisco and Washington, and just kind of hope for a big total there, which is not impossible.
Right. I mean, Anderson's a big contact guy, right? I mean, he checks an 85% contact rate. So some of these guys, like I know Soto's 4-1, he's expensive, but Matt Adams, he gets in there. Robles, you mentioned 3-1.
Yeah, Dozier, the Adams Dozier Robles grouping on FanDuel you can pair with Cole, and that's a good little grouping there. I think I think that'll play, and that's what you just need it to be slightly productive because you just want Cole to carry you anyway in the single pitcher, so it's not as big of a deal. At 640, you get Lucchesi against Kikuchi, so this is a good opportunity for Lucchesi because everything you talked about at the top of the show with the Mariners striking out a ton. So if you're able to work that game into a slate tonight, it's something to consider. I would strongly consider Lucchesi plus Tatis with a home run last night. He's at 4-3 on FanDuel. Obviously, we always know his pricing is always way more on DK. It's always very high. He's 5-1. And then everything kind of drops off. Boy, do they love Tatis over there on DK. They really do.
Oh, do they ever? Yeah.
But you know what? Even I'll tell you what, you continue to go down and drill down to the lineup too. Hunter Renfroe at 3K on FanDuel is another, that's a great value. Again, it's all. Problem is, like, how are you going to work it in the slate? How does that all work out for you? All right, let's go on to the evening now where things get a little bit easier. You got James Paxton, who we've been picking on for, I don't know, almost all year, it feels like, against John Means. It's a John Means sighting tonight. So, I don't know. You got the two lefties on the hill. I expect more offense in this one. You would hope that Paxton could handle the Orioles, but I don't know. Again, my faith has been shaken in this guy this year so much. And he's 9K on DK, which is super cheap. Do you think that he can do enough tonight against the Orioles to warrant a 9K salary on DK? Because that's a bit of a discount.
Yeah, it is. I think so. When you're looking at this late slate, I mean, there's only 4 games. Like, where are you really going to go? It's either you choose Paxton or you go with Erod, or you get real dicey with some other guys and you take some shots. So I the ownership's probably going to be pretty high, and he probably will allow a couple runs and a home run. I mean, he's allowed 18 to 19 starts. He's allowed 5 in his last 2. I mean, he's allowing bombs. He's walking guys. His last time he played Baltimore, he gave up 8 hits and 4 runs. But he did still strike out 9, and I think that's where we could get at least a little bit of a return on investment. Yankees are probably going to get the W there as well. So you're not really left with a lot of choices in the late slate. So I would have some shares with him for sure. I do like Erod slightly more, but I mean, there's not a lot of options, Joe, in the 4-game slate here.
No, it's really not. And then you got, Pomeranz and Trevor Wilson. So that's
Pomeranz probably only going to go a couple innings, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But look, so
started in a long time.
I agree with you. I do believe that you can roll a Paxton tonight. Because it's funny because this is like, especially on FanDuel today, it's literally like 3 slates you're playing, like where it's almost like which is rare. Usually it's even 2, but you really got like 3 today, and it's very wacky. And the way that they happen to be shaking out too, where really there's only one great cash game guy on the whole card, and that's Garrett Cole. So really you got to take shots and be right. I'm good with taking a shot on Paxton tonight too. I think you take the shot. I think he's good enough to go in there and beat Baltimore Orioles. I agree. And in terms of looking at value too in that Yankee lineup, Didi's very expensive on DK, but not on FanDuel. Again, we talked about the cheaper guys in the Yankee lineup. We talked about him. I mean, hell, if you're even looking for lineup builders tonight, a guy like Cameron Maben, if he's in the lineup at 2.8, and your guy Trackman to get him 3.3. There's so much value there. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, though. Let's talk about this one because it seems like this Milwaukee lineup is starting to get hot again. And Keston Hiura is down to 3-1 right now on FanDuel. That's a price we have not seen for Hiura in some time. And I'd like to buy at that price tonight. Who do you want to buy? And is this a night to buy if he's in the lineup? Christian Yelich, who has also been smoking hot lately. And
you get the night off yesterday. I think so. Yeah. I think you get in on him, Mike Moustakas, Eric Thames, just looking at, Trevor Williams, 5.5 ERA at home, and lefties have really they've killed him. A 331 average, 536 slugging, a 380 WOBA. You go look a little bit deeper into the hard hit rates. I mean, the fly ball rate, the hard hit rate, it really favors lefties here. So absolutely. I think this is a stack. And if you are playing on FanDuel, because we're talking about the weird slates, you could actually get Lucchesi in there as your pitcher on the late slate, and that'll save you a bit of cash. You go 7-3 instead of 9-6 on Paxton. Paxton's still an option, but then you can afford a guy like Christian Yelich and, a couple guys that we'll get into. But for Trevor Williams, I mean, the home runs have been there, 15 and 16 starts. He's walking guys. So, yeah, I'd say we continue to pick on him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so let's move on to the next one here. You got Glenn Sparkman against Eduardo Rodriguez. I like Rodriguez as well. And at 9K as a standalone pitcher, I think there's opportunity for him tonight. Now, the problem is on DK at 10. That's where it gets a little bit tricky. Where, I think putting him and Paxton together is no dice for me. So you're going to have to basically then pick. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is a Jason Vargas night. Jason Vargas is at 8K. You put him with Paxton or you put him with Eduardo Rodriguez. I think that's the way you roll on DK tonight in order to get the offense you need in this evening slate. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't mind it because it's weird. Normally I wouldn't, because Arizona does, they hit lefties really well, especially Marte and Escobar. Those are the two guys. But if he can get through those two, I mean, he'll be fine because he's been good all year. He's been decent. It's much like Anibal Sanchez. I mean, that's the same sort of feel here. You go 6 or 7, maybe get a W and a few Ks, and we'll move on. But Zach Gallen, I thought originally that I would maybe take a shot on him, but not at his price on DraftKings. I mean, it's crazy. He's 9.2, so I don't want to spend that on him. I mean, he's more expensive than Paxton and Lucchesi, and I'd rather just go that way. So I don't mind it. I honestly, I'll have some shares of Marte and Escobar, but I don't mind that call, Vargas. I mean, you have to go somewhere on DK. You have to pick two guys.
Well, where would you go on DK? Where would you go? What's your best duo, regardless of format, if it's GPP or 20?
It's probably that. It's probably that, Joe.
It probably is, right? I mean,
yeah, because I don't want to do
that. You play in both. I don't think there's like a tournament and a cash game lineup in the evening. It's your best lineup, and you throw it in both tonight because of the way it's structured and who's on the board.
Agreed. You can get a little bit weird with your DraftKings lineups and FanDuel lineups in cash when there's a small slate like this. Yeah, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get a little bit different. So, you're right. When you go Paxton and Rodriguez, you're just strapped. There's really nothing else that you can do. I mean, the cheap offenses are Kansas City and Baltimore, and you're not going to go that way because you're rolling out those pitchers. So, Vargas, Paxton. Pomeranz just won't go deep enough. He just won't go deep enough. He hasn't started in a long time. So it's either you get super strange and you go mean.
And Gallen's 9.2 on DK.
That's what I mean. He's too much.
I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
Way too expensive.
Yeah, I'm not into it at all. So look, it's a very wacky slate tonight. We hope we are taking you through it. Obviously, in terms of offense this evening, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox. And the only way you can play with the Yankees and the Red Sox is if you're very careful and
play on FanDuel and go Lucchesi and then rock those offenses. That's the way to go.
There you go. You just did it. Yeah. You go Lucchesi and you rock the offenses, and that's how you do it on standalone on FanDuel tonight. I think that makes a lot of sense. The DK one, you're a little locked in because the problem is then again, if you want to dance with either of the big offenses on DK, you got to get somebody like Vargas in that lineup.
Yeah. Biggest value on the board today, Joe, for LineStar is Lucchesi. And then Vargas is in there as well as a guy who's got some value. So
well, Lucchesi is going to strike out more games. Like he's the right guy. Lucchesi is definitely the right guy on the slates. So I'm fine with that. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. And then on FanDuel standalone there, getting Lucchesi in there makes a ton of sense today too. So what do you like from the betting lines tonight? Because now we're today, all day and night, whatever it is, because there's a lot to decipher.
There is. So we'll start up at the top. We'll continue to ride the Mets. They're hot, guys. They're hot. Mets by 2. Steven Matz on the hill. I like the over in the White Sox and the Detroit game. I love the over in Atlanta and Minnesota. Both these teams absolutely crush lefties. You mentioned it with Garver. You mentioned it with Cruz. On the other side, Albies, Acuna, Donaldson. These guys just crush lefties. We had a ton of runs yesterday with good pitchers on the hill. So I like the over there, and it's climbing. It started at 10. It's now 11. So get on it now if you can. That Jays team implied total I like as well. Texas and Cleveland, I think we'll get the under there. St. Louis and the Dodgers, I like the under there, much like yesterday, only a couple runs scored. May and Flaherty on the hill, like the under. I think Arizona could actually get to their team implied total if it is 4.5. I know that's a little risky because we've been talking Vargas. And then runs, of course, in Baltimore, the Yankees, Boston, and Kansas City. I think that we get to the overs there for sure. And then I'll take a shot with San Diego on the road and Washington on the road. They've been good to us so far this week.
All right, it's time to call our shot. And Chris Meaney, you've been on fire last 3 days. So I'm going to pass off to you. I got to catch up to you now. See, now the worm has turned, but at least you're always getting at least 1, if not 2 home run calls on this show, which is still absurd. It's absurd. Find me another show that's been as consistent, and we'll email Dan and we'll get the exact number of what we're up to in the last 60 days or whatever. Because I know he had the tracker. I know he was doing it and we were crushing
he's all
it.
Over it. Yeah.
Meaney, I'm just going to stand out of your way because you're on fire and I don't want to get burned, but everybody else out there needs the heat. So go give it to him.
All right. You say Kikuchi?
I say home run.
Manny Machado. Let's go with Machado.
Right.
I was in on him yesterday, and, he was a bit of a letdown. You mentioned a couple guys there who hit lefties. Just, quickly, they actually have quite a few who have had some success against left-handed pitching so far this year. Just quickly roll through it. Manny Machado is flirting with a 400 average, a 424 WOBA is the best mark in baseball against lefties, a 232 WRC plus, a 55 hard hit percentage, and 10 bombs. Tatis, Renfroe, Margot all check out pretty good too. So I think the Padres is a pretty solid stack today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to go with the day game one, which is Nelson Cruz, but I know
Cruz is a good call.
Yeah, Cruz is my day game call. Okay, so I know this isn't going to make it out into the thing because the thing gets cut up later on. But now I need to get one in the evening. So for me in the evening, I'm going to go with Rafael Devers, who's been absolute just money lately against Glenn Sparkman. He's at home. Devers going yard tonight. So lock it up. He's 4-4 on the FanDuel side. He's 5-6 on DK. So you got to make some concessions if you're going to get him in the lineup. But I think tonight he pays off regardless of the high price. So that'll do it for us here today. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at LineStar App, at Joe Pisapia 17, at Chris Meaney. Make sure you go get your Fantasy Football Black Book 2019, #1 in fantasy sports on Amazon for the last 6 weeks. What are you doing? Yes. Go see how relative position value will change the way you play fantasy forever, not just season long, but DFS as well. And of course, stay tuned. The pre-snap is going to premiere back again this week. Chris and I are going to be recording the first ones over the weekend here. So it's coming, baby. Football's right around the corner, and we'll be back again for more baseball later on in the week. So there's nothing left for us to do except step out of the on-deck circle and into the batter's box and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.